All right. Wow, that game left me a little bit speechless. But here is our Protoss player winning the last game with an amazing play, even busting out carriers. And looks like he's going to be Forge expanding again, probably. What can
That's the Archon toilet.
Brown do for you?
Sup, Broodlords? That's the best Archon toilet I've seen in a while.
That Archon toilet was awesome.
And the Zerg player who hates that move, he's starting in the blue colors. He is none other than the one and only
I love when Zerg players spawn on that position on this map, because then the little lava animations like bubble up around their hatchery. It looks all cool.
In the last game, I thought a little bit about what Luzira could do before that fight actually started, and he had a really good composition with all those Broodlords. He had like 18 of them, a huge amount of Corruptors as well.
Yeah.
But one upgrade that I wasn't sure if he could actually pull that off, but I would have liked him to try to get that Neural Parasite. He had a bunch of...
That would have been nice.
He had a bunch of Infestors. There were Colossi in the mix
really
of his opponent's army, as well as Templars. So that might have completely failed with a good feedback or with a good focus with those Corruptors. Sorry, not Corruptors, but Colossi. But it would have been worth the try, in my opinion. He had the resources. Why not just get it and give it a go?
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean,
it might be completely useless. Maybe Brown is on top of his game, sees that Infestor and goes for the feedback straight away or tries to focus it down. But even if he's able to just Neural Parasite the mothership for only a couple of seconds, that will give him an edge in that fight. And that was one thing that I would have loved to see.
That would have been pretty cool. I mean, Neural Parasite the mothership, and maybe even use it to cast Vortex on his own army or something like that. I remember once I actually casted a game, and this isn't a completely unique tactic, it's been used a few times, but I casted a game on YouTube once with Dark Force, actually, versus Braddock, I believe it was, and he actually, in the middle of a battle, Neural Parasited an enemy ghost and used it to EMP all of his other ghosts, so he couldn't EMP his other Infestors. It was beautiful. So a clutch Neural Parasite on a key unit could definitely be a good thing to have, especially, I mean, he was maxed, he had tons of money. There's no reason not to research that with Colossus and everything in the battle.
And Brown was he was going for the macro game. He was actually confident enough that he thought he could pull that off against Lucira, and I didn't, and I still don't really like the choice of being passive for such a huge amount of time. He won that game after all, so he definitely was in a position to decide that game in his favor.
You're right.
But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable just looking at that, because I feel like the Zerg player has so much options and has so much stuff that he can do. Lucira had the perfect army, and he was killed by that Vortex, but I'm really not sure. Brown might be the player who's able to pull something like that off a second time when he's going for it, but now he's starting to get a really early +1 attack, so a little bit more aggression by the Protoss this time.
Zergs used to, and probably still do, complain about Protosses who just sit on 2 bases and max out. Brown's the Protoss that turtles off 5 bases and max out.
Well, if you turtle on 2 bases as a Protoss player, you will lose the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this level, definitely.
Yeah, that's just the Zerg player will take the map. The Zerg player will be in the position to max out his army, even if he loses his army. And 2 bases for a Protoss player don't allow him to get all the tech structures that he really needs. And well, Brown surprised me though, pulling that off in the fight. I mentioned that in the last game. If he really wants to rely on a play like that, he needs to have the perfect micro in the main fight, and he had that. He went for that micro play and he put down the storms, the vortex, everything that he needed. So yeah, he pulled it off, and Lucira is down 1 game. He needs to take this win now if he wants to force a 3rd game, and that might prove to be hard against a player like Brown, who's going now for the Void Ray once again, and a couple of gateways. He might actually just go for the Void Ray in combination with the Zealots and +1 attack.
Interesting.
But we have Roaches,
yeah.
so
Yeah, well, you know, he didn't. This is pretty much the similar build to what he did last game, is what it's seeming like.
There it is. Warp in pylon for the Zealots.
And yeah, you're right. Last game, he kind of put on a little bit of pressure with the Void Ray and the Phoenix, but didn't really pressure much after that until he got a large army.
Did he miss that?
No, he saw the pylon. Yeah. But yeah, we might see Brown do a little bit more pressure this time. He's going to try and catch that pylon. Is he going to get it? The Zealots want to say no. Oh, and he does cancel the next round of Zealots warping in. This pressure has been thwarted. A new pylon is warping in, but it's going to be too late for those Zealots.
That's not going to work. Luzira has roaches. He's building additional ones. He has the speed. That won't work. Even though he has the +1 attack upgrade, Luzira is too safe against something like that.
Now, he does have the Void Ray, though, to deal with those roaches, and he's actually going to trap the roaches.
Completely out of position.
Two go down. He is going to get out of the way, but one of them is near death as well. He's actually in danger of losing this third base. The Queens are targeting down the Void Rays, but the Zealots are targeting down the Queens. One Queen goes down, and the second Queen is forced away by the Zealots. This Void Ray is just going to have a heyday, can do whatever it wants right now.
He wasn't allowed to lose those initial roaches. That was a huge blunder by Luzira. He's throwing away way too many in the early stages when every single roach counts, and he gets punished for it right now. Brown sees his chance, even though it looked like Luzira was able to defend against that with that huge slip up with the army movement. He is just about to lose that third base and maybe even the game. Another round of units being warped in, and two Void Rays taking out every single roach combination with the Zealots. That's horrible for Luzira.
Wow, he's got so many Zealots on the ground. The Queens cannot handle this, and the Void Ray is just doing so much damage to these roaches. He is probably going to lose this third base. I don't see how he can save it. He doesn't have any more Queens in production right now. Now he just made 2. But he just doesn't have an answer for this, and finally clears out the Zealots, but he's got nothing for those Void Rays.
And he already lost 9 workers. He is so far behind in workers right now. 50 workers for Brown and only like 38 for Luzira. And even the pilot in the main base, he's getting... Oh,
wow.
Look at Brown going at him. He has those Void Rays. And I can't believe that Luzira screwed that up. He saw the pilot. He killed the initial pilot.
Here's a counterattack. Well, I thought he might be able to get some Lings into the main. A lot of Lings getting into the main. And Brown actually doesn't have anything here. He's going to have to warp in some units here. But Brown might lose his main Nexus at the same time.
He's defending with the probes, though. At the same time, we have the first Void Ray being killed finally in the main base. A bunch of Zerglings left to deal with the probes, but not too many of them. And there are Zerglings. The +1 armor upgrade is not done. For the Zerg. Still +1 attack for the Zealots. Therefore, 2 hitting Zerglings, and the second Queen dies. GG! Luzira with a huge slip up in the early game is losing that match, and Brown, wow. Brown taking down Luzira with 2-0. He's just happy as...
Slayer's Brown and Slayer's Sella giving him a big hug, a congratulatory hug, because Slayer's Brown has just, in his Code A debut, made it into Code S.
And I'm really disappointed by Luzira.
Stylishly done.
Luzira, I can't get my head around that. He saw the pilot, he killed the first one, delayed the push a little bit longer, he knew about the +1 attack upgrade, he went for the roaches just in time. He knew he needed roaches, and he had them. Yeah. He had everything he needed to defend against that attack, and suddenly he's just sacrificing 4 of his roaches, walking the wrong way, straight into that Zealots, and those two Zealots get 4 roaches, losing them.
I don't know if I don't know if he expected that Void Ray to be there. I mean, I don't know if he even scouted the Stargate at that point. He didn't have Overlords. He didn't go after the Overlords first as kind of a pressure move. He went straight for that third base this time.
That's a common strategy for Protoss. So that's something that you have to deal with in ladder countless times. And when he even without scouting the Void Ray, he had the Queens to take down the Void Rays, but he lost all of his roaches. Then the Zealots didn't have anything at the ground they had to deal with. There was just nothing to protect the Queens. That was the main issue. If you are able to protect the Queens will be able to take out the Void Rays. And, well, you can just kite the Zealots. It doesn't really matter. But when he lost the first 4 and Brown warped in the second round of Zealots, there was just too much stuff.
Well, I mean, normally it's kind of a funny thing where you would think that, okay, well, he might have thought it was just a pressure build and it wasn't a big attack because Brown likes to play macro and that kind of thing. But then he saw the pylon. So he knew that he was going to try and warp in units forward. So he should have tipped him off, okay, this is an attack. Maybe after he killed the pylon, he's like, okay, well, I've stopped this. I'm safe now. But I don't know, it just seemed to catch him off guard a little bit. He didn't quite have enough units on the ground yet. And you know what? Isn't that really the trouble of Zerg is, you get caught making a little bit too many drones when you need a little bit more units and you aren't aware of that. And
he actually
didn't have quite enough roaches out in time.
Basically, well, I'll put it down to those 4 roaches that he lost here because Brown even had more workers than Lucira. And what I liked about Brown, by the way, I don't want to only go on about how Lucira actually lost that game. What I liked about Brown
played that beautifully.
He didn't only have that one pylon down there. He had another one at the second base. He didn't need it, and he didn't actually warp in units, at least not to my knowledge. But there was a second pylon that enabled him to just get pressure from 2 sides. He saw his chance of killing Lucira right away, so he didn't use it. And when he built that pylon in the main base of Lucira, that was kind of cheeky, and I really liked that about the kid. No respect at all, just going for it like, well, okay, I got the chance. There's no creep there.
You gotta build it where there's no creep, and the rest of his base was full of creep. So you gotta do what you can. So, and again, just a reminder, Lucira is not completely out of the running yet. He is going down to the up and down matches, which are going to be actually not next week, but the following week. Next week is the Blizzard Cup, and then the following week, the week before Christmas, is going to be the up and down matches. So he will have another chance. He'll be in a group of 5 players, if I remember correctly, and 2 of them get out, so he still has an okay chance of getting into Code S. But Brown is definitely going to be in Code S next season. Let's check out the results for today.
Brown and Parting, 2 players. Most of the people who voted at GOMTV.net didn't expect that.
True.
Brown taking down Lucira with 2-0. Parting winning against Killer with 2-1. We will see both of them in Code S next season. That's kind of exciting. That's really nice, kind of a hero story right there. The underdog taking down the accomplished player.
And that's why we have this new format, is to allow for a little bit more dynamic movement between Code S and Code A, up and down, and so you can get players like that going up pretty easily. And here's the matches for tomorrow. ASD versus Nesty, that's going to be great. July versus Finn, a.k.a. 4GG, that is going to be awesome too. Former Brood War champions duking it out here for a chance in Code S. Lucky versus Ganji is going to be crazy as well because those guys are both so good. And Dongregu versus Tasia. Tomorrow's matches are going to be insane. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Same bat time and channel. Tastosis are going to be in the house casting some Code A to see who gets into Code S from those 8 amazing players.
Tomorrow is going to be wicked. That's just going to be so great. I mean, there's not a single match that I don't want to see. Especially... I mean, Finn did so well in TVT.
Oh, yeah. He actually has been playing really, really well.
I want to see his game against Zerg. We have Lucky. Lucky was able to beat Naniwa 2 times. Naniwa stating himself that he thinks that Lucky is one of the best Zergs in Korea right now and one of the most underrated as well. He's able to face Ganji tomorrow, so this is going to be a great game.
Well,
and Donragu against Tasia.
I mean, Naniwa, he lost to Lucky. And the next week he flew over and beat Nesty.
Yeah, exactly. 2 times.
A couple times. So Lucky's got to be pretty good. Either that or he's... I'm not even going to make that joke. You all know what I was going to say. Anyway, so that's going to do it for today, though. Make sure you tune in for those matches tomorrow. I am Moltrap. With me is Kaldor. We'll see you next time.